Hello, my name is Rob. I am a second year here at Saginaw Valley State University. And the podcast that I chose for this assignment was The Pharmaceutical Tariffs Explained, the Will, the Won't, They story of 2025. And this podcast episode covered the topics of the current state of the drug prices, how the proposed tariffs may impact the pharmaceutical industry, and the Pfizer deal. And this topic did catch my eye and my attention because I honestly never knew why the drug prescriptions were so high. I didn't know if it had something to do with the tariffs or if it had something to do with government spending. Because at this point, I feel like we all have heard of what tariffs are, but a lot of us don't know exactly what they are. And I also didn't know what the Pfizer deal was, so that also caught my attention. One thing that I did learn from this episode is that pharmaceutical tariffs have threatened over 100% of the name branded drugs companies. Um, the second thing that I learned is that this is my first time learning about a tariff as well, so this was very interesting to me. A tariff is a tax imposed by one country on goods and services imported from another country. And I guess the tariffs are used to influence trade. They're used to protect domestic countries, and they are also used to raise revenue for big businesses in the U.S. and big businesses in other countries. Pfizer was responding to a list of demands that the Trump administration had set to them, so this was known as the Pfizer deal. And the Trump administration suggested that they voluntarily lower their prices on prescription drugs to basically match with the most favored nation's pricings in the Medicaid program. And they wanted to make them more direct to the consumers and the customers. That did change my thought process on this idea of the pricing in drug prescriptions, because I always thought the pricing of drugs is like the market, where it just fluctuates, or where they just put a sticker on the drug and just say, "Oh, this is the price." But the tariffs do make a little bit more logical sense now that I've been reading and listening to a little bit more research on the topic. So I find that very interesting. And the issues that did catch my attention didn't really change my view on this, because I had no idea of this and I just wanted to learn something new and learn about it. But I did know it had something to do with the government, but I just had no idea basically how it was being done, if that makes sense. Like, again, I didn't know if it was just them fluctuating the market or putting a price tag on a drug, or because it's a new drug, they're just throwing prices around. But the tariffs make it more sense to me now. But the two questions that I do have for this podcast that raised for me was, is this deal going to happen in 2026, or has it already happened? The reason I have for asking this is that this episode was published in October of 2025 and is now almost February of 2026. So I'm just curious to know if it has happened already, or if they're still talking about it, or if it's going to happen in like the near future, within the next month or two. And then my second question is, why is the Trump administration the first administration to think of this idea? Because prescription drugs have been around forever, and they have apparently been relatively expensive since the 1980s, according to this outside source I did some research on. It was called usafacts.org. And the market apparently has gone up about 5.5% since 1985, or 5.5 times the original market since 1985. And the reason these are high costs is because of the lack of negotiation and the introduction of new drugs. Because I guess new drugs come in every year and they create new like cures for diseases and different sicknesses, like influenza or the flu, COVID-19, and they're just coming up with new stuff every year. But that was my video. Thank you for watching.